Settlers of Kalguur is the best league ever. Let me tell you why. Number one, the league mechanic itself is just very good. Setting up the city's fun, interacting with it's fun. Personally, big fan of city builders. If you're not a fan of city builders, I can see it being not your favorite, obviously. The boat shipments and the map runners in the town are cool. Gives you something to look forward to. Personally, I don't get FOMO, but I could see people FOMOing over this stuff and disliking it, feeling like you have to log in, make sure your town's running, optimal rewards, yada yada. Personally, I didn't even do any like huge shipments for the first 2 weeks. I was just chilling and interacting with it when I wanted to. I feel like that's the best option for enjoying anything in the game, really, but people force themselves to do stuff more optimally at the expense of their enjoyment. I don't personally really do that. I know a lot of people do, so that regard could be bad for some people, but for me it's not. And then I'll go all over the stuff, specifically in the league mechanic. Recombinators are back. I ended up liking them less than I used to like them actually in Sentinel, because I feel like most of the crafting with the Recombinators now is just you alt spam an item for like 2 T1 mods you want or whatever, and then you just smash them together, and that's like 90% of the crafting I've done on Recombinators. I've done a few other crafts, but that's most of the stuff I've done with it so far. I know that's not it, but definitely my main use for it being alt spamming as opposed to in Sentinel when I was recombinating many different things. It's definitely not how I was expecting it to be in the game again. On top of that, it has some additional restrictions and changes from Sentinel League. But overall, I'm still glad they're back in the game, even if it's a pain at times. Kalandra being back opens some very fun endgame crafting. I was kind of sad that this didn't get put in the main game after Kalandra League, but I think they were just hesitant to put anything from that league because almost nobody liked it and it was like the worst league ever. But actually a bigger fan of the Kalandra mirrors, the reflection mists coming back than Recombinators. I really like the reflection mist. It opens up some cool builds like the negative projectile speed spectral throw where your projectiles just stay on the screen forever, getting like huge negative lightning resistance for Doriani's prototype. A lot of cool stuff comes out of that, and it's mainly for endgame stuff, obviously. I'm a little, I don't know, concerned or what, but I feel like the reflection mist to actually get the itemized one to apply it to your own items is incredibly rare. I have not gotten one all league. I dropped a mirror this league, and I've not seen a single itemized reflection. In terms of balance, I think balance is really good this league too. Build variety's in a good spot. You have a ton of options. Pretty much everything is decent, except for maybe like non-Archmage spellcasters, and even that's probably a hardcore thing. In softcore, it's probably fine. Tons of new builds are opened up, or / existing builds feel changed because of rune crafting. It's really fresh. The league is just super fresh. In this one league, we've gotten more changes than D4 has gotten in its entirety. Rolling T17 at this point is manageable. It's not perfect, but it's manageable. I don't mind rolling them now, but some future changes in general for tier 17s, I think rolling is mostly fine. But some future changes definitely still needed in that direction. They're still a little jarring to me. Whole new build archetypes are open. Well, archetype 1 singular is opened up via retaliation skills. I have not played it yet. I want to at some point. I don't know when I'm going to get around to it. For some reason, the main thing for me is like the main retaliation skill, right, is Gladiator, Bleed, Eviscerate. I know there's some others you can go like Ignite, Eviscerate, but I want to see one that's a little more interesting than just the typical league starter build, you know? Maybe something with Glacial Shield Swipe and not just Eviscerate doing a dot thing. I don't know. I mean, it being dot is fine, but every single one is Eviscerate. Eviscerate's just the best. All the other ones seem a little overshadowed. I'd like to see that be balanced a little bit more next league, but overall it's very cool. That whole new build archetype opened up. It's definitely a unique playstyle, not for everybody. Ritual is finally good. I basically refused to do Ritual for, well, since Ritual was released, really. Other than the league itself, it's been very lackluster. It's finally good now. You got the King in the Mist invites for it. You got the special Spectre corpses from it, along with a few other things. It's finally good. Feels good to do. My only downside of it is, why is every Ritual monster casting Detonate Dead? I don't know. Ritual monsters definitely should be changed. There's also like little green balls that come out of Ritual, which are insanely OP. So the balance regard with that probably needs a little looking at. Melee is much better this league. Doesn't have to use totems. Many more viable builds. Feels good. Scrying maps is cool. You can basically have even more customization over the strat you're running, since you can now take div cards off of a map that you don't want to run and put on a map you do want to run. I'm all for more customization. Although I do personally like running different maps, so I have not used it too much. I'd like to see another additional benefit for running different maps. Maybe not better than running the same map over and over, because that's what most people prefer to do, but doing Maven 10 ways is like garbage. So I'd like to see something open up for running different maps. Don't know what that would be, but it's me personally. And then last, but definitely not least, maybe one of even the bigger things that I like about this league is the new sought after base types and the high quality bases, like bases that have over 20% quality, now are only obtainable via dropping. I really like this change. I like just base items having value. They're not all garbage, right? It's like, oh, you got a 30% quality. That's cool. It's super OP. As opposed to, oh, you used the perfect fossil on it. That's not cool at all. Whatever. But the quality changes, I think, have been overall major success. Like getting a huge quality weapon or something, it's cool to drop. Not everything has to be a super shiny unique for it to be a cool drop. So I think this is definitely cool. It gives bases more value and something else to look for in terms of loot. Now, my dislikes. None of these are super huge dislikes, honestly. Like, all pretty minor. The major one is some mechanics feel bad because you get no gold. Well, you get a little tiny bit of gold, but really, really small amounts of gold compared to other things. Now, this is fine on its own, but the lead mechanic is so OP that if you're not doing it, it's kind of trolling. Like, it's not so much a FOMO thing. It's more of like, it's not like I don't log out and I'm like, wow, I need to log back in so my gold keeps going or whatever. It's more so if you're not doing the lead mechanic, you're missing basically a guaranteed mirror every couple weeks, which is just huge. Then your map runners are also very good. Maybe not as good in like softcore, but I was definitely netting pretty good div per hour for them in hardcore. Same with just running small boats is a couple div an hour. And then once you get the big boat, you get a couple mirror shards, you get a couple divines, you get a couple power runes, which are 4 divines each. Really, it's more of a problem with the mechanic being super OP more so than not getting gold. In future leagues, if it goes core and it's balanced more appropriately, I could see it being fine. You either choose to do a mechanic that you get gold and you can do the town, and it's more like not something you should be doing, but something you want to do, and not basically forced on you to get optimal money, right? It'd be like a conscious choice, hey, I'm going to farm gold and get these rewards, as opposed to doing these other mechanics that probably have a higher return, but don't give you gold, right? It could be, gold can be used in the future as something to supplement mechanics that are not as good in terms of currency per hour and kind of boost it up a little indirectly. Oh, how could I forget the like? Oh, you know how I forgot it? Because nobody uses it in hardcore. But currency auction house, I think, was a large success. but nobody in hardcore trade uses it for some reason, or very few people. There's like maybe one listing for some things. Most things don't have a listing, and then I open up the trade site and there's just all the listings are there. I don't know why people don't use it. At this point, I don't think it's the gold cost. It's relatively low once you have your town actually set up and running compared to at the start. So that's kind of whatever, so I forgot about it. But yeah, market house, good. Back to dislikes. Tinctures, too OP. I don't know, it's kind of weird to have a tincture on like my lightning strike build and I click it and now my damage is doubled for no downside essentially, and it has very large uptime. I don't know what the nerf will be either. The uptime nerf, because right now if I'm hitting a monster, it's gonna be up till the monster's dead. Maybe in the future they nerf the mana burn or something. Or just overall damage. Or probably too OP. T17s still shouldn't be the gateway to Ubers. The regular version of the bosses should drop Uber fragments or something. I think that would just be better. It doesn't feel right to have T17s drop Uber fragments. Kind of weird. I don't know. And then build guide for Viper Strike, which has been the video playing in the background here. It's been Viper Strike. I'll have the guide out for that within a few days. Hopefully tomorrow, but no promises.